Our commander for the World Shaper Precon is Szarel Genesis Shepherd. Listen, you guys pronounce that name however you want to pronounce that name, all right? He reads, flying. You may play lands from your graveyard. Whenever you sacrifice another non-token permanent during your turn, put a number of +1/+1 counters equal to Szarel's power on up to one other target creature. So what's nice about this precon is that we have a ton of lands that allow themselves to be sacrificed when they enter the battlefield, which means that these will automatically be sacrificed, triggering our commander and putting a number of +1/+1 counters equal to his power, which in this case would be 2 onto another creature. And when we take a look at the creatures inside this deck, there are a lot of creatures that have some type of evasion. So Trample helps this creature deal damage, and Menace definitely helps this creature deal damage. So just make sure, to the best of your ability, when you're putting the counters onto other creatures, they have the ability to attack during the same turn, new players. New players, keep in mind that whenever we have our commander in play, he allows us to play lands from our graveyard. So if you'll imagine, this is the hand that we have inside of the game. We have 3 lands in our hand, but in our graveyard we have a Cabaret Courtyard, which says when it enters the battlefield, we're going to sacrifice it, search our library for a basic land, and then what we're going to do is put that land into play. Now, we got this land onto the battlefield to sacrifice, we got our extra land, but we still keep the lands that we have in our hand in our hand. So in case we lose our commander and he goes to the command zone, we still have 3 lands to play inside of our hand. These 3 cards right here, I need new players to focus on because they are going to help you win a lot of games and teach you a lot about how to play landfall decks. Hammer of Perforos gives creatures you control haste, which means they can attack right away. Omnath and Rampaging Baloths both create creature tokens as you put lands onto the battlefield. Our commander, Szarel, lets us play lands from our graveyard. There are also cards inside this deck like Gitrog and the Broodship that let you play extra lands every turn. So let's just imagine that we have Omnath in play. Every time you put a land into play, we're going to be creating one of these tokens. With Szarel in play, we can play lands from our graveyard, and if we have the Broodship in play and the Gitrog monster in play, we get to play an additional land each of our turns. So right now, we can play 3 lands this turn. So I could start playing lands from my hand, triggering Omnath and creating tokens, but because we have this Cabaret Courtyard in our graveyard, we can have this enter the battlefield. That will create 1 Omnath token. We will get 1 more. This will then get sacrificed. We will get a land from our library and put that onto the battlefield. That will create another Omnath token. And then what we will do is, because we can still play lands from a graveyard and we still have 2 more lands to play, we can do this again, put another land into play, create another Omnath token. That'll go to the graveyard. We'll have the new land enter the battlefield, creating another Omnath token, and so on and so forth. And we can keep on doing this until we are not allowed to play lands anymore. And if you would imagine that all these creatures have haste with a card like Hammer of Perforos, these are all 5/5s and creatures that we can attack with on the same turn. So while you're playing this commander deck, keep in mind that Omnath exists and Rampaging Baloths exist, and try your best to make sure that you're utilizing your lands in a way that lets you set you up for a turn like this, because you could have a board state similar to what we see over here. Look, I could start the turn with the battlefield like this, and then out of nowhere I can draw into that Omnath or the Rampaging Baloths, which I can then put onto the battlefield, and suddenly I go from having a really good board state to a game-winning board state. And keep in mind, if you have Omnath or Rampaging Baloths inside your hand, wait. Make sure that you don't give your opponents enough time to adjust to these cards being in play. So in other words, I would rather wait 3 or 4 turns, wait to set up something like this or similar to this on the battlefield, and then playing Rampaging Baloths, making sure that they have the ability to have haste so that I'm able to start creating those 4/4 beast tokens as all these lands enter the battlefield, and just start one-shotting people. If this is your first commander deck, you are being absolutely spoiled, because inside this commander deck are excellent legendary creature options. Soul of Windgrace is an amazing card. Korvold, amazing. Gitrog monster. What? Titania. I'm telling you, the legendary creatures inside this deck are fantastic. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because for new players, keep in mind that there's a term that people use in Commander called lieutenants, or cards that act as secondary commanders inside this commander deck. This entire commander deck easily could run through any of these cards over here. What I'm saying is, don't feel pressure to put Szarel in play, because these 4 cards here are so strong among others inside this deck that you can just run the deck straight through these cards. And the reason that's important is because if you're gaining too much advantage with any of these cards over here in particular, your opponents have to spend removal to take these cards out of the game. And when that happens and these cards are no longer in play, that gives you the opportunity to then play Szarel and get to your real win conditions inside the deck to keep Szarel safe. And the last thing I always recommend in these videos is always to playtest your commander decks, which means you're going to pretend that you're playing a game against people, which allows you to practice the way the cards synergize with each other. So when you go sit down and play Magic, you have a really good idea of exactly what the deck wants to do, which is only going to increase your chances of winning. So if you like this video, remember to like this video and subscribe, because we always make videos like this whenever new precons release. Especially if you're a new player, subscribe. I need to give a huge shout out to all the channel members. You guys are the best. I would not be able to do anything that I'm doing over here without you, so thank you guys very much. Keep in mind, we also have how to play guides for all the Final Fantasy precons as well. If you guys are looking to check out those videos, I always say the same thing when I end these videos. Remember, everybody, eat healthy. Okay, work out every single day. Most important, you guys can remember to believe in yourself. All right, peace out, people. Have fun with this deck, guys.